Well, it's just about ready, folks. It's going to turn to 7 o'clock here on Verizon, so let's get started. And in this last Sunday of the month of July, we're glad you were here. Anybody start to head to the band concert and decided to turn around or not? I thought we'd lose a few more to the concert, because I think, is the Sousa group playing again tonight? I think. So we're glad that if they're there, let's hope they won't get wet. Now, Rhett tells me that the tornado watch is up in the northwest part of Hennepin County, so if your phone goes off, don't get your water hot, because it may not be our problem. But it's good to pay attention, that's for sure.
If your phone goes off, what do we do?
Well,
I heard a bunch of them when I was walking down here.
Oh, did you hear a blast?
In the units.
Well, the first thing is turn it off, and then and go to the TV. How many of you 4 weeks ago or so at 12:30 in the morning got awakened by the sirens? Did you hear the sirens? I didn't hear the sirens till my phone went off. So I started watching, and we had bad storms, and they were worried that it could coalesce into a tornado. So what are people supposed to do? Remember what Jake said. You have agency. You stay in your apartment, get to the inside of your apartment, or go ahead and go down. Some of our members went down to the basement in the garage and walked down there. I talked to 3 or 4 families who were using the guest room, and they came down to watch the storm. So different people do different things. So you'll have to kind of see and take a peek at the television, look at where the things are at, but use your common sense. Stay away from the windows as best you can. Most people look out the window and just stand right there, of course, but you want to stay away from that. And if you are feeling like you're really worried, and go ahead and come on down and go down in the garage. It's a pretty safe place down there, and get to the inside. Anybody else have a good advice for that? A lot of people said, Rich, I never heard the sirens, I never heard nothing. You know, a lot of people didn't. When they're in bed, they have their hearing aids off, they don't hear anything. So that's always in the middle of the night, that's a scary problem, of course. That's for sure. So does that make any sense, what I'm telling you? Yeah. So what do you think? Is that my advice halfway decent, you know? Jackie? Yes. All right, very.
I was wondering about the stairwell, and he said on the west end.
Well, the stairwells are always good at an appropriate spot. Yeah. Yeah, that's your interior room and your bath. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, stay away from the windows. Yeah, there you go. So thank you for being here tonight. We've got some things we want to accomplish. First of all, thanks to the food service folks who got the food truck. Everybody go out and have a little Indian food tonight? Did you go out? Was it good? Excellent. Thanks to those folks who figured that out. Then I want to thank the neighbor or whoever who must have gotten one of our pieces of mail, and tonight it was in our mailbox when I was leaving here tonight. That's the neighborly thing to do. If you get the wrong mail in your mailbox, don't curse. Take it, read who it is, and drop it off. That would be the neighborly, cooperative thing to do. Help the mailman. They don't always get it right. They get confused like everybody else. But I sure appreciate the person who dropped. That was a first-class piece of mail, and so it was dropped off at our mailbox at our door. So whoever did it, thank you so very much. I appreciate that. Thanks to all the things that were going on here, the bingo gang. Who took care? Anybody help with the bingo the other night? Yeah, did you have a big crowd again? Excellent. Yesterday we had the Fun and Games Committee, had the senior games outside on the west side. We had a great turnout. Thanks to all of you who worked in doing that. Very good, and thanks for all the folks who made it to all the meetings and did good things on behalf of the co-op. So we have a guest tonight, or not a guest, a new member that we want to introduce. So Rianne, will you come forward and bring our new member and introduce her to the community, please?
Okay, Rhett. Good, thank you. It's always fun to meet new people and to be able to introduce them at our Sunday night board report. The other week, it was probably about a month ago now, I came off the elevators right by the mailboxes and I went over to look at the photos of the new people. And I was looking at this photo, and then I looked over there, and she was standing right over there, introducing her family or family members to the building. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go up and say hello and welcome them all. And that is how I met Sue Shoemaker. And the day before, she had moved into 917, and she was already feeling comfortable enough, I think, with probably not having unpacked the boxes, but having her family here and taking them on a tour of the building to show them her new home. So, welcome. We're happy to have you here, Sue. And where did you come from when you moved here?
I come from Lilydale. Anyone know where Lilydale is? Yes.
Hold it up
along
to your
the
mouth.
Mississippi River on Highway 13 in Dakota County. And I was in an apartment building called the Riverwood. And we called our apartments lily pads. Okay? And I moved from there to Cloud 9.
I can tell already she's got a great sense of humor. And so what led you to 7500 York? How did you find out about this place?
Well, people I know who told me about it, and I don't know how to use a microphone. And at the time, I was very happy where I lived, but over time, I realized with eye issues that this would be a better place. The place itself, the walkability, which did not exist in my other place. And so I, took a tour, fell in love, and that's the story. Fell in love with this place. Yeah.
That's a good story. So share with us what you're retired from, and if you have family living close by, and what your hobbies and interests might be here.
Okay, so let's see. Retired from it was the Graduate School of Business at the University of St. Thomas, and I was a program manager for customized programs and worked with business and industry to create programs and manage the projects and write the proposals and the contracts and marketing and sales. Wow. That's all.
Good thing to be retired.
Generalist. And it was a great job. Yeah, it was a great job. Okay, so family, 3 children in their 30s living here in the Twin City area, a couple of spouses of those children, and let's see, 2 of my grandchildren live in the Twin City area, one with a wife, so that would be granddaughter-in-law, I guess, with a baby on the way. So, yeah, so I have family here. And you asked what hobbies. I think mostly I would say now is genealogy and, family history. I like that a lot. And so that's what I do when I have some extra time. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, it sounds like you're a busy lady. And is this going to be your first great-grandchild?
No, actually it's the 4th.
Oh, she's got 4 great-grandchildren.
But the other ones live on the East Coast. So we are pen pals. We send postcards to each other. They're 6 and 4, and then the baby. Okay, so.
Well, that sounds fun. Well, thank you for coming up here, and let's give her a round of applause and a warm welcome to 7500.
Thank you, ladies. Give that back to Dave over there. Sue told me that she's been welcomed for all the 2 months she's been here. She wants to thank everybody. And I appreciate hearing that, very much so. To reach out, to welcome one another, and stay connected is really an appropriate thing. So This meeting is a kind of a strange on its timing because it's the last Sunday of the month, but the last Wednesday of the month is still yet to come. So the board is not met yet this month. We will meet on Wednesday. And so tonight what I'm going to do is just do a little bit of reflecting on Mitch's managers meeting and then look at the agenda that we're going to look at this week for you. I can't tell you how it's all going to turn out because I don't know, because the other 8 board members and I have not met together to decide and make some important decisions that have to be made. But I want to be sure to remind you, if you can, to attend Mitch's managers meeting in that middle of the month. This time it was on July 16th. And if you can't see it live, watch it on one of the replays because you'll learn an awfully lot. I think we have done a good job of trying to keep people updated with what's going on. Here's some of the highlights of Mitch's meeting. Jake did a piece on member billing, and you heard him say that one of the things that he wants to help people to do is not to have too many checks that come in that they can't read anymore. And they're not going to allow that anymore. So just remember, if you're still paying with a check rather than using the HCA program, you might want to consider moving ahead on that. One of the things that the board will look at is, should we put a surcharge on people who continue to write checks and not use the HCA method? So that's a question that the board members will look at this week in their monthly board meeting. Michael talked about unit inspections and the hot water distribution balance. And that thing. I want to tell you, I talked to the staff. And I said, how is it going this year compared to last year? They said, it's just terrific. People have done a good job. They opened their doors to us. They knew what was going to happen. Things were in good shape. And I want to just thank everybody. This is an important event annually that we inspect. All of us as owners, we want to know that our property and our investment is in good shape. And that's why we do this. But I just enjoyed hearing the staff say it was way better experience this year than last year. We're learning, and I just want to thank you for that. That's very important. How's your hot water coming, by the way? Hot and quick. I think, Michael said in about a week, email them, let them know what was going on. I shot him an email, and I said, it's in a week. I want to thank you. We've never had really problems, but now I get hot water like that, and it is hot, and that is good. If you're worried that it's too hot, set your handle in the middle so it doesn't start at hot; it starts at medium. But the hotter, the better. And I think our investment, thanks to the property committee, George and his gang, who did good work to have that completed, and that's really an important thing that happened. Mitch told us about, some of you, if you were around today in the afternoon, you met Terrell Clark, who's our new utility guy in the security area. Did you meet Terrell this afternoon? He was back helping out today, so if you had a chance to meet him, I'm glad you did. He talked to us about the North Plaza, and there's all kinds of stuff coming up. Yes, we're moving forward little by little. And about Lab 23, about the boilers, how we've secured 2 engineering firms to help us think about how, to give us some ideas about how best to replace our boilers. We think we're going to replace the oldest one that uses fuel oil that we need to finally replace, and we hopefully will get at that. Still going on is the chilled water pipe conditions. What I like here is the gang is starting now, our vendor and our staff are looking for preemptive test sites around the building to make sure that what's happening behind the walls is appropriate for air conditioning. I saw 2 of our staff here tonight. Apparently, the 3 apartments up on the 9th floor, I think over here we had some air conditioning problems tonight. Any of you have air conditioning problems tonight? I think we've done really well. Did you have some tonight? The guys were here working, and they were working just a little before 7 when they were leaving. I told them I appreciated them being here tonight. They will get back in the morning right away and make sure things are set correctly. Here's the big issue, of course. It's the building-wide exterior facade that goes around our building. Right now, I will tell you when we get to the agenda, we're going to do a consent to action on a contract with our engineering firm to look at that wall that sits at the northeast wall up there above the boiler room, the one where we've had some struggles and we found some real complicated problems when we continued to do that whole area of the water mitigation. I've been just tickled. I go down and watch the downstairs, and the water mitigation is doing what it's supposed to do. And it's just exciting to see that, and we're glad. We started thinking about that about 4 or 5 years ago remember when the tower in Miami Beach next to the ocean and by the swimming pool fell apart, we said, we got to look at that water mitigation, and it's paying off for us, let me just tell you. What's really interesting, and you need to know this, if you want to stay up at night and worry about things, don't worry about the small stuff, worry about this. We're going to have to take a hard look in a piece called The Rough Order of Magnitude, which we've got a couple of engineering firms working with us, giving us some ideas about how we could take a look at the entire building, not just the north wall above the boiler room out here, but the whole building. And we need to have them give us a really good look about what we got, what are the challenges that are facing us. That's going to be a challenge facing us. You need to know about that. The security cameras are coming, and so is sooner or later the fob key system. I was visiting with the staff out by our area, going out to York Gardens. They're looking around, trying to eyeball how they're going to put that fob system together. Remember, the first part of the system will just be the exterior locks. It won't be our apartments. It'll be the doors coming in and out of the building. We've got to repair an elevator 5 coming up. Elevator 5 has been a pain to us. And there's a large sheave, I think, or a sheave that we're going to have to take a look at again. And so that's going to be out of system for a while. Not yet. Watch for the signs, and you'll find out when that's coming. Mitch said something that struck me. I don't know how many people. Some people have asked him and said to our staff, we want to give you a gift. We want to thank you for what you've done. We want to give you a tip. And Mitch has reminded the group, no, we do not tip our community, our workers here at 7500 York. However, come holiday time, we will circulate the annual holiday ingathering for all our employees. Last year, we received about $45,000. I think we can bust that easy this year to say thank you to the people who've done such a good job on our behalf. So just a reminder that I don't even know if you can give them cookies. You might be able to, but they're not supposed to give them gifts. Our reserves are sitting at $5.5 million right now on the replacement reserve side, and between $600,000 and $700,000 in general operating reserves. And we continue to manage. The board, and I know the finance committee, the treasurer, and I are very appreciative of our staff monitoring those reserves, monitoring what we're spending on all the projects we've got going. And to know that they're already starting to begin work on the 2026 budget. I noticed there was an announcement for all of you who are chairs of committees to be sure to bring some thoughts and ideas as they start to fashion the committee budgets for the coming year, and there is an invitation going out. So there you go. That's what's happening, and you can go back and watch Mitch do that, and what else you can do. And this month in our packet, every Friday and every Monday we get 2 packets where there's a board meeting, and this month the property committee killed the most trees like normal. They do good stuff, and there's really some informative stuff. That'll go up onto the portal. That'll also be a hard copy in the library. If you want to know what's going on, you get those minutes and you read through what the property committee and all the other committees are doing. But that will give you as good a lowdown as anything. I was reading through the property committee piece and the management piece again today. It's well done. It's there for you to look at. People are working hard. And if you want to know, go read. So watch out, it'll come up on the portal just as soon as we get through the board meeting, and there'll probably be a packet out here pretty quick right after the board meeting as well. You can look at it in hard copy. So what are we going to do at the board meeting this time? That's what you have in front of you here. You have a copy of the agenda that I usually give you every time, and it goes up. It's a pretty mostly it follows the same procedure and the guidelines each time. Just an idea, so those of you who are new and those of you who don't pay a lot of attention, one of the things that the board can do is that between meetings of the board, by email, we can decide on matters that pertain to very small agenda items to very large agenda items in what's called a consent to action. Now, if it's going to work, or if it's going to go into effect, all 9 members of the board have to agree by email. It has to be a 9-0 vote, and then we don't have to wait till the next meeting to get at what we really need to do. Then at the next meeting, what has to be done is then we do the consent to action. We go through that and we affirm what we did by email, and we have some consent of actions. Now we got one boo-boo, and I'll take the blame for this one. We heard at the end of last month's meeting that Wifley, our auditors, have said to us that the IRS says we've got a little amount due yet for the 2023 tax return. And our Wifley auditor and our Wifley people that we hire offered to be our representative with the IRS. So the board has said, that's a good idea. Let's have them. Well, dumb old me. What I should have said was, okay, we got to vote on that. And so that it goes into the minutes. It's in the minutes, but it says the board agreed, but we didn't vote. So the first thing, we're going to go back and pick up my screw up, and we're going to vote. And that will be done, and we're glad to have the people from Wifley representing us with the IRS. It's not a big deal. It's a matter of some kind of thing that just didn't get carried over right in the 2023 tax return. We have a consent to action that we approved, combining units 641 and 643. One of the things that we're doing by management's impetus to us is to monitor how we put units together. It's a great idea, but management is telling us, and our partners at Ebenezer are telling us, we have to be very careful financially, legally, how we monitor that process and how that's handled. And we had some people interested, and I'm not sure it's going to go yet, but we gave our administration, Barbara Murphy and her team, the ability to go ahead and move forward. We gave them permission to work on putting that together, and that's their job, and they'll come back to the board and bring us the plan and bring us the authorization. But it's not going to be the Wild West out there. You just can't do whatever you want to do. We've got to follow some good procedures, and we're doing that so that we don't get caught up in a mess when we start to combine units. You can see from the board all the time what our struggle is. Our struggle is to smaller units. So when you've got friends out there who are interested, you be sure to do marketing. The best marketers are you folks, and how you share your care and concern, like Sue has told us today. So just lift that up to you. So we gave the executive folks, or the administration, permission to do that. We also,
Mention that that's the second combination that we have currently going.
Yeah, we got 2 in the works.
307 and 309 plus 641
Yeah.
and 643.
So it's starting to pay off, or we're going to have to work really hard at that. But they're not done deals yet. They've got to go through all the hoops, right? Okay. You can see the other consent to action is a new membership, Janine Total. We do that right along with the combination of units. And the final consent to action is an engineering contract for Lurch Bates. Lurch Bates has been our contractor all along, or our engineering firm out here on the North Plaza project. They've done a good job for us. And the property committee recommended to the board, and the board said, agreed to in the consent to action by email, that we're going to engage Lurch Bates to be at a cost of $34,000 to prepare the engineering design for both complete repairs and the option of temporary supports and provisions of construction administration services, including coordination with the team project, construction documents, bidding and negotiation coordination, and responding to the contractors for that north wall to get that done, because we want to get that done before the snow flies and get that fixed. We had good companies that have worked with us over on the stack over here on the 9th floor side, on the southeast portion of the facade. And so the Lurch Bates firm will be our engineer. And we've approved that, and we will ratify that at the board meeting. All right, so there you go. Those are the four things that are at the top of the page. Normal stuff. Approving minutes, executive committee, treasurer's report, we'll do. All the committee reports, thank you all of you who worked hard on your committees to get those reports to us. Sometimes committees have business they send our way. Sometimes they don't. They tell us if they need something done, then they send a motion to the board, and then we discuss and act upon that on their behalf, trying to figure out the best thing to do for the cooperative. So I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody's work on that. You can see the other updates that will come through. So let me just go down a little bit. Besides the stuff on the page, where you see in the manager's report, there's a legal report where we do legal things. We ratify changes the members make in their ownership. Usually that's the case, and how they own their unit or their share of the community, not the unit, how they own their share to be a part of this community. Maybe they want to do it for their heirs, or they want to do it in a trust, but it has to go through the board if you were to change some things that have to be done. That's part of the legal structure of how we own this place. All right, committees, policy updates. Okay, so we've had some struggles here. Well, why not? We have struggles all the time, of course. You know, it's just interesting times. But we had some struggles, and we got some feedback. We got some feedback from folks about the last issue of the York Times and the cover and the political stuff that was on the cover. It's important that we listen to what people say to us. Some people didn't know there was any problem. Some people, I would really appreciate the comments that came to the board, both written and orally. And we had people who are supportive of whatever. So we've got to, one of the things that we said before we take any action is that the board of directors needs to sit down together and take a look at our policy, 6.1, which is our newsletter policy. What does that say? What should it say? How do we think about what stuff is political? Now, the problem is, some people, it's like everything else. You know it's political for you, you know it's political for you, but other people don't understand what that's all about. Or some people say, well, that wasn't political at all. So it's a complicated matter. So instead of just running off at the mouth and trying to tell people what to do, because the last thing I think the board wants to be is we want to be an advisor. We don't want to be somebody who stands over the newsletter folks with a red pen, but we want to give them some guidance. We've had some conversations already. We've had some great individual conversations, and people have sent us stuff, and I appreciate that so very much. And we're going to work on that. We're going to take a hard look at the policy. We've even talked about what are the topics that should go into the newsletter. Besides, we stay away from religious stuff. We try to stay away from political stuff, but some people think that's not political. But so we need to sit down and do some soul searching. The subcommittee of the newsletter had a couple ideas. They said, let's talk on some plans. One plan would be to say we're not going to print anything of a political nature. And the other one said, no, the newspaper should be full of that. We should allow people to send in letters to the editor and have all kinds of things in it. It was interesting that the newspaper committee was split 50-50 on what to do. What does that tell you? It tells you this is a complicated issue. And so they pay us big bucks to serve on the board, so we're going to take a look at that and sit down, listen. I was intrigued by the conversations we've had with staff of the paper and some other folks and some of the executive committee of the board to say we need to find opportunities to talk amongst each other about politics. If we're all that divided, how do we follow the better angels model, or how do we sit together and talk to one another without getting in each other's face? Some folks felt that that cover was in their face, you know. I understand that. Other folks felt, how could they think that? Well, it's different opinions. So I suspect all of you have an opinion. If you've got some real wisdom, you can share it with us. We're more than happy to hear that. But we're going to sit down together and take a look at what our policy says. How do we think through this? How do we go about making good decisions that help the whole community? Make sense? Anybody got 2 cents they want to say about that? Okay. Just know that we're going to look at that. That's complicated, all right? By the way, I did some other looking tonight. The vision of 7500 York is that 7500 York Cooperative will be a welcoming community that continues its excellence in senior cooperative independent living at a moderate price. That gives us a sense of what our vision is about and how we start to live out that vision. So we have to decide, are we a debating society? Are we a religious community? And I don't think we're either of those, of course, but there has to be opportunity for people to talk with one another in a good way, and we shall follow through. So I appreciate everybody coming to the table. Read the paper as it comes out this next week. I think you'll find the article from the editor interesting and informative. And we will discuss that matter and sooner or later figure out a way. By the way, I looked up to the Constitution. It's the First Amendment. And what does the First Amendment say? Congress shall make no laws. But it does not say the Board of 7500 can't have a policy. That's in the Congress can't make laws to stifle freedom of speech. But of course the board can say what makes sense and what doesn't as we live together and honor each other and not get in each other's face when we talk about some really important things. Okay. I don't know about you, but I think the food service folks are doing a bang-up job. Everybody enjoying the meals as they can? We have come a long way considering where we were a couple of years ago. The board has hired, very minimal cost, $4,000 working. We're working with a food service consultant who's brought some people together, done some listings, going to grab some more folks now. We're going to do some thinking for the future of the place. We have, what do we have, Ray? We have less than 2 years now before our 2-year contract with Morrison is complete. We're getting 2027. So we're working hard on that. We're always interested in your feedback about what's going on. I don't know, I've appreciated Morrison has stepped up to the plate. I appreciate our management who stepped up to the plate and made things happen. Appreciate the people on our quarterly business team and the people of the food service committee who've had to make some hard decisions, some hard calls about how we monitor and how we are going to provide for that food service. Even though we're finally on the positive side of the operating side, remember we all still pay $500,000 or more before anybody sits down to make that place available and possible. So every time the more you can use it, the better off that we will be. So just let you know about that. So we'll hear a report of what's going on about that. The check processing fee thing, that's a complicated deal. And one of the ways that we think we can gently nudge people to use the ACH is to say that is to look at a fee for processing. Now, you may think that's the craziest thing you ever heard about. You can tell us that. That's fine. If you think that's foolish, that's fine. But we'll debate that and just look at that and see where we want to go about that. Because one of the things we can't have is stuff that's illegible, that has to be run back a time or two, and things that just don't work out. Staff eats way too much time up to get some of that stuff done. So it's something you need to be aware of. The last thing I have on my agenda tonight is one of the things that we have done as the board of directors. We have finally, this last spring and into the summer, made formal application to be a part of the Ebenezer Foundation over at the Ebenezer community. They have a foundation that co-ops and other communities that they manage can be under their umbrella for gifting opportunities. There are a couple of ways that it works. They do an annual midsummer thing, July 1, for special needs grants or greatest needs grants. And this year we barely got under the wire. We put some small grants in for trees, for flowers, some of the simple stuff we could put into it. Next year we hope to have committees give us some plans and give us some ideas. That's a once a year kind of a thing. You do it in July, the money doesn't come till next year. It has to be matched dollar for dollar from the community. But the second and more important thing is we'll have an account at Ebenezer that can receive gifts that are tax deductible. And can receive gifts if you make a gift from your qualified distribution from your IRA. You can make it from your bank or your firm right into the Ebenezer Foundation to be used for purposes around here. We have two groups raising funds. The long-term standing committee is the resident fund. A shorter-term subcommittee of the finance committee is the legacy fund. And both of them have been bearers or recipients of wonderful gifts over the years. But one of the things we did is we got people together from those two groups, plus some of the board. We did a think tank for a couple of sessions. We started to think, how could we make that work better? How could we be more, how do we do better communication with our members? I laughed because one of the things we looked at were what am I thinking? SWOT. I'm thinking what's the first S for crying out loud? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And one of the things we found out that each of those groups was a threat to the other group because the legacy people didn't know what the resident fund folks were doing. The resident fund people didn't felt that people were looking and pulling givers away. So we got together, and I was appreciative of this community because here's what they're recommending to the board. That group worked really hard. We worked through we took a hard look at both of those funds that we have. We took how they're managed, how we do PR, what are, as I said, their strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. We talked to our foundation people over at Ebenezer. And here's the three things that group is recommending the board should look at. Number one, they thought that we should create a new standing committee to replace both the resident fund standing committee and the legacy fund subcommittee to oversee the giving program. One committee that is the umbrella group for the whole product. And that's a good recommendation. Secondly, they asked the board that the current resident fund committee members and the current legacy fund subcommittee members work together to develop a charter for that new standing committee. That's good. The people right at the grassroots level will develop the structure and what that might look like. And thirdly, that the board of directors develop guidelines for the use and oversight of the cooperative's new membership in the Ebenezer Foundation, incorporating tax-deductible features of the Ebenezer Foundation and giving options for $7,500. So that's the board's charge. So the board is going to look at those three proposals or those three recommendations from this think tank group. The question is, one of the things we're trying to say, you know, the tax deductible feature of the Ebenezer thing can't be for capital needs. So we can't go park at $500,000 over there to buy a new boiler in honor of your grandmother. We just can't do that. And we like the fact that the resident fund is close to the committees and close to people right here, and people do that. I noticed the other day someone came from the funeral and brought a nice gift to both of those funds. People want to know what's going on. They tell us, what I'm hoping is that the ability to have tax-deductible gifts might be helpful to determine some programmatic stuff, whether it's music or arts or education or whatever it is, that people can give rather substantial gifts. Now, the issue is, the way the tax laws have been written the last few years, not many of us do itemizing anymore. The standard deduction is so good that not a lot of people do it, but there are some folks who might. So we have to look at that. The problem is, or the challenge is, how do we monitor the money? How do we take care of it? How do we shepherd it so it's used correctly and that it's used well? And everybody has a shot. Every committee can think about ways they can use that. So we're gonna talk about that and look at that at the board meeting this week. And that's there's a little PR piece on the back of your agenda about the Ebenezer Foundation and how it works. All right, that's all I got. Questions, comments for my other fellow board members are here. They can help me out. And if there's anything we can answer as we go in. You can't tell us how to vote. Well, you can talk to us, but we'll say, yeah, we can't commit, because when we do that, the 9 of us together at that time will make the decision, and we don't want to broadcast how we're thinking about that and about hard issues ahead of us. So, questions or comments? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned.